Welcome to Popping Corks. I'm Dan Candy, the CEO of Cork Protection. Cork is the super connector for risk insights and financial protection. And today I am here with the one and only Charles Love, Director of Operations for Showtech. Charles, always a pleasure to see you. I get to see you on the road all the time. I get to see you in our Partner Advisory Council. And today we get to just have a quick conversation about what's working in our world and the things that we're seeing. And great to see you, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, cheers. Hey, so relatively open-ended. I'm just curious, what's the biggest cybersecurity challenge that you're seeing these days?
For us, the biggest thing is trying to find a way to explain what it is, right? We have so much in our head about all the speeds and feeds, the tools, the neat things, the AI scripts, all that stuff. But how do you take that and tell the person you're trying to work with what it means in their language, right? So it's a bit of a translation issue because I can go on about how we monitored 365 and they're like, what's 365? Is that Outlook? Because I know I have Outlook. Do you protect Outlook? Yes. Yes. In a roundabout way, we protect Outlook. But the struggle is trying to explain how I have this plethora of tools and techniques, how it basically protects your Outlook.
Fair. I bet you when you're talking with your clients, they care about money, they care about risk, and there's
Yes.
been an evolution over the 20 some years that you've been doing this because you're now able to talk about cybersecurity insurance and the financial implications of what you're doing, and that you're protecting the castle in a different way. How has that evolved as you've been helping your clients?
Well, the conversation over the years has definitely changed, right? So before we were trying to talk about insurance and things like that, and they're like, I don't really have that. I would say the lion's share of our customers have it, or at least are having the conversations right now about it to make sure that they have the protections in place to keep the business safe. So that's a lot easier. Um, but sometimes you're either talking to the wrong audience, you're not talking to the business owner, you're talking to like an operations person who kind of gets it, but they don't understand liability and things like that. So we have to try and walk them through that delicate path to get there.
All right, fair. You have been one of the earliest adopters of Cork, maybe, one of the first 10 Cork partners. Thank you for your partnership, my
Yes.
friend. Which means that you've been with us as we've improved and evolved ourselves. Over the years, we've become a lot more of a risk insight, compliance monitoring type of company. We're really interested in helping you become more efficient around the tooling that you're using. Really want to make sure that we help you see the open windows and doors that you may have across your cybersecurity stack. I'm curious from your perspective, how are we helping on that journey? What has that journey been like? How are you using Cork? Any aha moments?
Yeah, so we got a good story to tell. And we recently turned on ticket integration. And that's the big story here. We've been getting the emails, and I get way too many emails a day, and some of the things I pay attention to, and some of them I don't. And, like we've been telling people forever, if it's not in a ticket, it doesn't matter enough, right? So the biggest aha moment we had was turning on ticket integration with Cork and realizing, oh, we're missing things because it's coming over in an email, right? Cork apparently had been screaming to us, there are problems, but it was in an email. I filed it away. I didn't really pay too much attention to it. And the aha moment is Cork had been telling us that we had a pretty severe security gap in our process that we weren't fully aware of. Um, and luckily, we have since fixed, right? But we're very thankful that we had that tooling to be able to go, hey, there's a system over here that says, I have data, but the other system doesn't have data. And just to kind of explain in what actually happened, you guys were reporting that we had devices in RMM, but not in our EDR. But the system we were using prior said it's there, but you guys said it wasn't. So in the beginning, when we first turned this on, we're like, Cork isn't reporting correctly. We'll have to deal with that. And then we started looking at it. We're like, oh, it 100% is accurate, right? And as I think about all the tools that I have used over my 25 years of being in this industry, there's never really been a tool to cross-check vendors, right? And I brought this up to you in the past. I think this is something, and you guys are starting to lean into it now, but like, I was on peer group today and I was telling the story and the eyes were just getting huge like saucers, like, oh my God, we didn't even know that was a thing, right? To have a secondary tool check my other tools to make sure they're both happy. So that was a biggie for us.
Thank you. Why does that really matter, Charles? What is the impact to your clients?
So we were blissfully ignorant, right? Because our RMM said that the EDR was installed. We're like, cool, right? We're good, right? And it's a security gap in our process, which again, it's not been closed. But for the customer, they're paying us to deploy a certain solution. Where in all intents and purposes, we've assumed we've been deploying that solution correctly. And then we're using the Cork platform now to tell us, hey, you may think it's correct, but it's not.
Thank you. It's just reflecting on why we show up every day. Why you show up, I show up, our teams
Yep.
show up. And if you boil it down to its essence, it's to make the world a slightly safer place and to make sure that the businesses that we support can succeed in delighting their clients, their customers, and that they can grow and that they can take care of and solve problems, right? So that we're all solving problems a little bit more quicker, a little bit more safely, perhaps with some joy and delight, right?
Yeah, and we just to give you kind of a funny, we've nicknamed Cork Overwatch. So we have gone through all of our boards now, call it Overwatch, right? Cork Overwatch. Because that's the thing we're now using to make sure that, all the tools that we have deployed to keep our customers safe, Overwatch is making sure that it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's protected all the way across. We get green checkboxes across the board. But when we don't have green checkboxes, now we take those very seriously.
It's a great insight. Thank you. Fun nickname too. When you think about rest of this year, looking into next, the way that the world is moving, what are some words of advice you might have for how to make sure we're all operating in a more secure, high-performing manner?
It's kind of crazy if you think about it. Anybody can be an MSP, right? Uh, Mailman no longer wants to deliver mail. They register a company, they buy an RMM, checkbox, they're now an MSP. But if you think about it, the person who cuts your hair, right? The person who works on your plumbing, the lawyers, everybody out there, most of the professional businesses out there require some kind of license, right? Some kind of accreditation of some kind. IT support doesn't need it, right? And you could just be the mailman and say, you know what, I'm going to be an IT guy now, and now you're an IT guy. It all depends on your website, right? You don't even need an RMM tool anymore. right? Because there's free things out there. So we definitely come across customers with bad experiences, right? Because something happened, their person never answered the phone, things like that. Um, the advice I would give is keep yourself in higher standards, right? You don't need to be the lowest price anymore, right? Like back in the day, we were all trying, it was a race to the bottom. Not for nothing, it's kind of a race to the top now, where we're definitely not the lowest end price out there. We definitely lose deals on price, and I'm a-okay with that. I would much rather lose a deal on price than, all right, we don't have to do this, we don't have to give you an EDR, we don't have to monitor, like, and then now you're just the mailman trying to do IT work, and I don't want to be that.
I really appreciate those words, Charles. We spend a fair amount of time here at Cork thinking about how we can raise the bar and using the mantra of love and performance as the foundation of that. That performance side, we all know in and out, whether you're a sports team or a business, looking at those metrics. But there's this element of love, which includes integrity and honesty and really showing up for one another. And that's not cheap, right? Integrity is not inexpensive. I think we really have to be thoughtful, and it takes time to be thoughtful and intentional. And good people doing good things really does require some extra time these days, and where we pour our resources. And I love that you and your team are dedicating some of those resources to the
Yes.
right tech, right, the right team, and doing the right things at the right time. So thank you for those insights. Last question for you, and hopefully this one isn't too challenging. If you could have any one superpower, what would it be?
Anyone's That's a good one. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one. Any one superpower. Probably flight, right? I would definitely say flight. I've flown airplanes, I've been in them, I've never jumped out of one. Don't want to. I think you're all crazy for doing that. But to be able to get from point A to point B faster would be amazing.
Sounds good. Curious though, if you wouldn't jump out of an airplane, but would you go bungee jumping?
Probably not. No.
Okay. All right. Just ask. I wouldn't go bungee jumping, but I would happily jump out of an airplane.
I used to fix them. So like my whole being was making it so that people didn't have to jump out of airplanes. So
This is probably a good thing. Well, Charles, always a pleasure to see you. Grateful for the insights, grateful for the partnership and the years together. I hope you have an absolutely fabulous rest of the day, and you take care, my friend.
Yep, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
All right.